culture is everything in terms of being able to hang on to your people, making sure that they feel like they're a part of something. We look at this as, we were just chatting before the call started, Gene, we were just chatting about sports. We look at this like a sports team. If I'm running a college football program, I want the best talent. And there's not that many people that can play. Say we're running a high level college football program. There's not that many people that can play at that level. There's a small pool of them. So what happens to the top recruits? All of the schools are fighting over them and recruiting them and trying to woo them and tell them on why those great players should come to their school. I look at our industry very similarly, right? We're looking at that small pool of talent and saying, here's why you should come here and do this with us. You have a million options. Everybody wants to hire you, but I think you should come here and we've got to sell you on why. And then once we get them in here, we got to deliver on that, right? And that all starts with culture.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Jahnel. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Culture is very important to the success of your organization. If you don't know that, then you're probably in the wrong place because you're listening at a podcast who believes that leadership is a very important cornerstone to the success of any organization and to the bottom line of your company. And culture is everything. When you think about what you're going to do next to ensure that you attract the right talent, that you keep the right talent, and that you are creating a place where people perform at their best, you want to make sure that you know what culture is everything really means. Well, today's special guest is the CEO of Jahnel Group. They're a 6-time Inc. 5000 company. And we talk with Darrin Jahnel. And Darrin and I talk about culture is everything and unpack that, how they're using it, how they're doing recognizing employees. It's very different than you've ever heard before. You've got to hear these stories because it's so simple, yet so powerful. Now, I love being able to share these things, and I think I'll be using this as examples of how to create a place that people don't want to leave from. And you want to make sure that you tune in to all of the things that Darrin's talking about. Culture is everything is his brainchild, and they've cracked the code for culture with best places to work and even the rate of growth through the Inc. 5000 6-time company. Now, before we get to the interview, I want to just remind you that if you have people on your team that are frontline leaders that are really rising up to the place where they need to lead their own teams, or you have new managers who need to build and develop a team around them, you want to make sure you're giving them the skills and the training they need so that they can support the organization, because that's what they deserve. And you've got to be an intentional leader around this. If you want to get a free training around the skills that will help you be a better leader and help you train those frontline leaders, just go to jahnhammett.com/training. Now, it's absolutely free. It's about a 4-minute video that will unpack the core skills. There's 3 of them that you want to make sure that people understand, and you want to understand how you can transfer that knowledge to them. It's very unique, and all this research comes out together in this short 4-minute video. Now, you can take it for free and run with it, and we'll be friends forever. Or if you want support, all you have to do is sign up for a little bit of a conversation with me. We'll look at your team. I'll give you 3 questions that will really help you take it to the next level, and it will really change the way you lead and the way your people lead in your organization. Just go to jahnhammett.com/training. Now, here's the interview with Darrin. Darrin, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Gene. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to have a great conversation here about culture and some unique elements to servant leadership. Give us a little bit of an idea of your company, Jahnel Group.
Yeah, sure. So we're a custom software development shop, about 145 people on the team. We're based here in upstate New York, about 2 hours north of New York City. At our simplest form, Gene, we are a collection of great software creators. So not just developers and engineers, but project managers and designers and QA folks. Basically, companies come to us when they need to build custom software. Sometimes we'll build the entire project ourselves, right, for them. Maybe they don't have dev resources on staff. Sometimes it's a larger company that already has a software development team, and they'll come to us for more firepower, and we'll kind of come alongside them. So that's our business in a nutshell. When you need software nerds, think of Jahnel Group.
Well, I always like to go a little bit deeper with that. Where do you see your industry in the next 3 to 5 years that those that aren't inside the industry wouldn't be able to see around those corners?
I think that I don't know, I guess if it's the media or there, I just think there's a perception out there that we're producing, the world, the universities are producing enough software engineers, right? I just don't think that's true. I think we are producing a lot of engineers, but what percentage of them are actually really good at the craft and can add value? And which percentage kind of should do something else, right? So I think over the next 3 to 5 years, this trend will continue where there's just simply not enough great software creators. There's just, the salaries are going through the roof because the companies that are starting to realize that are all fighting for this small pool of talent, which are the really great software creators. And so I think that trend is going to continue no matter how much we continue to expand worldwide, and no matter how many kids continue to graduate from college. There's only a small subset that are actually the true people that add value.
I love that perspective, and you're fighting for talent. So that makes having the right culture probably even more important than ever before when you are trying to win out against tech behemoths and people that can probably pay options that might make people millionaires down the road. Many of them won't realize that, but you create a great place for people to work and do their best work. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Culture is everything in terms of being able to hang on to your people, making sure that they feel like they're a part of something. We look at this as, we were just chatting before the call started, Gene, we were just chatting about sports. We look at this like a sports team. If I'm running a college football program, I want the best talent. And there's not that many people that can play. Say we're running a high level college football program. There's not that many people that can play at that level. There's a small pool of them. So what happens to the top recruits? All of the schools are fighting over them and recruiting them and trying to woo them and tell them on why those great players should come to their school. I look at our industry very similarly, right? We're looking at that small pool of talent and saying, here's why you should come here and do this with us. You have a million options. Everybody wants to hire you, but I think you should come here, and we've got to sell you on why. And then once we get them in here, we got to deliver on that, right? And that all starts with culture.
Well, let's dive into this and unpack culture for you. Darrin, when you think about culture, do you group it in certain categories, or how do you set the frame around that?
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, when it comes down to, we always talk about building special teams, right? My brother is my co-founder. So my brother and I grew up playing sports, and we were lucky enough to be a part of a few really special teams when we were younger, right? And I can do a little rant on special teams, and that's how I think people are at their best when they're a part of a special team. But if you want to build a special team, first and foremost, the thing that matters more than anything, which is kind of already the theme I've been harping on here, is you have to have the right people on the team. You've got to find the right people. So you could you could take the best leader in the world and send them into a broken organization with broken people and people that are difficult to be around. I believe even the greatest leader in the world is not going to have success there until they start cleaning out the cupboards a little bit and getting the right type of person in there. So that's first and foremost. If you don't have the right people on the team, it's going to be really challenging to build a special culture. Does that make sense, Gene?
Absolutely. And I agree. We want to make sure that we are attracting that kind of talent.
Yeah, right. I mean, just if you everybody knows, just think of a couple people in your life, they're just so annoying and they're difficult and everything's a struggle and they're never in a good mood. You surround yourself with those type of folks. Again, put the greatest leader ever, put John Wooden in there, the famous basketball coach from UCLA. He's going to struggle. He's going to go, I got to get these guys out of here. I need some happier people. And so that's first and foremost for us.
Well, what's next beyond that?
So then, once you get them, so say I do a good job identifying the stars, you get them in, they agree to come in. Well, now you got to deliver on all of that smack you were talking in the recruiting pitch, right? And to me, it starts with relationships. If you care about the people at your work, if you actually create real friendships, I'm not, some people have just, it's a work colleague or a friend. I say hello to them, I chat with them for 5 minutes, but it's not a real relationship. I mean, that's fine too. But when you have real friendships, deep, true friendships, where you're now doing stuff outside of work on nights and weekends, and you're traveling and you're really connected with these folks, I think that's when people start to really feel that sense of belonging, right? And the way we're intentional about that, Gene, is we're looking for opportunities to create extraordinary experiences. So if you think about the people in your life that you got the closest with the fastest, right? So somebody where maybe you didn't know them, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, you felt like they were a close friend. A lot of times that happens after you share an extraordinary experience. Maybe you take a trip and you travel across the world. Maybe you are on a sports team and you guys win a championship. Maybe you go through something difficult together, right? Maybe you are in a startup company, you guys are working 80-hour weeks, and it's actually kind of stressful and hellish. After 2-3 months of that, you can feel really bonded and close to those folks, right? Look at the US Navy SEALs. Those guys are ready to die for each other after training. Well, why? They're getting tortured together. They're suffering through this hellish experience together. And on the other side of that, they're so bonded that they're literally ready to die for each other, right? And so we're really intentional, Gene, about trying to create opportunities where these extraordinary experiences can happen, and it fosters an environment where these deep friendships can actually form.
Now, Darrin's just talking about creating extraordinary experiences. Now, I know there's two things that a lot of people want to be able to connect to if they want to create extraordinary experiences for their company. The first one is purpose. You want to make sure that people are aligned to the purpose of the organization. If you don't have the right purpose or mission, you really are missing out on an opportunity, because they want to do something special. It's not just about getting a paycheck anymore. They want meaningful work. You want to be able to provide that. The second one is passion. Did you hear it in his voice? Did you hear the way he spoke about his people and about the strategies they're deploying and what that means to them? There's a lot of passion in there. I think that you as a leader want to have that kind of passion so that you can inspire people. Now, we know what it means to have passion, but are you courageous enough to bring it consistently? My hope is you are. Back to Darrin. I love the fact that you're giving these examples around it, but I want to go deeper. Give us an idea of what an extraordinary experience is inside your culture.
Sure. So I'll give you a couple, right? Here's a fun one that turned into like one of our most famous events here. We have a client, and this guy, his name's Alex Wolfson. I don't think he'll care about me sharing this story. We call him Wolfie, right? Wolfie lives in a small town in Jersey, Frenchtown, New Jersey, and he runs an open mic night, right? He's a musician, and he just, at this little dive bar, he runs this open mic night. And so that's about a 3-hour drive from where we're at. So one time, this is 5-6 years ago, a few of the guys, maybe about 5 of them, they decide to drive down there on a Thursday night and surprise Wolfie at his open mic night. And so they do, and it's just an epic night. They surprise him. He's all emotional. They're chanting Wolfie. They hang out drinking till 3 a.m, and they just have an epic time. Come back, and they just start bragging and going, oh my God, what a great trip. And they got all these great stories. So the next year we do it again, but we go down with, I don't know, maybe 12 people the next year. Then we do it again, 18, 20. The last time we went, which was pre-COVID, we're trying to get back down there now post-COVID, but the last time, actually, you probably can't see this. It's literally a huge picture on my wall right here. And there's us in this small town in Frenchtown. There's this small little hotel and called the National, and there's 35 of us staying in a hotel that probably sleeps about 20, and people are sleeping on the floor and carrying on, and we just go down there, and it's truly an epic trip. We're carrying on to late in the morning. There's all kinds of different traditions. There's a bridge, and we go down to the water, and some people here at Jahnel Group are musicians. They get on in the open mic night, and it's an event that's taken on a life of its own. So when new people come in, they go, yo, boss, what do I got to do to get to Frenchtown, New Jersey? I'm dying to go. I heard all of these stories about it, right? That's an extraordinary experience. That's just as fun as it was in my college days, right? Gene, you were a Georgia Tech guy. I'm sure you have 100 funny stories of your college days and going to football games and all this crazy stuff. We're literally doing that now. I'm 45 years old, and I'm creating these moments with my coworkers, and it's just awesome. So that's a good example, I think, of us going out of our way to create this.
It's cute that you think Georgia Tech is fun.
Actually, it is a super challenging school, and don't they say like the first time you come there, don't they go, look to your left, look to your right, only one of you is going to graduate, right? Because like most people drop out.
A true story, and it almost brought my mom to tears.
Wow.
Because she was so happy, and I had 5 roommates, and all of them got exited.
Oh my goodness, we're one of five who made
So
it.
one
Well,
of five,
congrats.
but it's absolutely a true story. So back to you. I can hear your passion, your voice, and it really is, contagious. And I'm sure that's a part of what creates, the culture is everything for you guys. But you also do things where you recognize people. What are some of the ways that you recognize people that we could learn from?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I do want to apologize if you can hear that. There's a crazy rainstorm going on here. I don't know if you're picking that up in the
Perfectly
mic.
fine.
All right, good, good, good. So yeah, I think everybody's heard, oh, you should recognize your folks, right? And, maybe they'll call them out at a meeting or send an email or do something to acknowledge them. And that's great. And leaders should do that. What we have found is by going over the top on this, it's something that has it just has such a greater impact, right? I'll give you a couple of examples. Here's a good one. So if I'm working with somebody and they do a great job and I call them out and at a team meeting and everybody goes, yeah, good job, Mike, or whatever, right? Think about this as a different experience. We have a really cool office here. And so, people do come to our office and a lot of times they bring their family. And so their wife and kids come. So now their wife and kids come and say this guy's name is Mike and his 8 and 10-year-old sons come. And then we come down as leaders and we tell the story. We say, listen, kids, here's what your old man did. He kicked so much ass on this project and he did this and blah, blah, blah. And we're talking real stuff, right? We're not just blowing smoke and making stuff up. We have star employees. They do amazing stuff. Now we're telling this story to his children about how badass their father is. And then we bless these boys up with an Xbox or something, right? Now, again, we'd clear that with the old man before we did it. But now these kids are coming in. They think they're just coming to Pop's office. Now they're hearing this amazing story about their father. They're getting an Xbox. They're going home going, this is the greatest gift I've ever received. My dad's a legend. How do you think the dad feels, Mike, right? Do you think you think he'd rather a $1,000 check or even a $5,000 check? Or do you think he'd rather be a legend to his 2 sons? And his wife saw all of that as well. And they saw this amazing work environment and everybody's happy and everyone's given their old man props, or, and the wife's seeing my husband is a star here. Think about how much further that goes. What's the Xbox cost? $200? I don't even know what an Xbox costs, but use that as an example. Versus 5,000. Say it's $500 versus 5,000. It's 1/10 the cost, but way more impactful, and has really impacted that guy's life, right? Gene, does that make sense? I could do 50 more of those.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you're making it personal, and of course, you're getting permission to bring this in. But I bet that the next time he has to work late, the wife doesn't think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Amen, man.
Kids don't think about
Amen.
it because they're like, oh, that company. Oh, I love that company. I will say that I did a speech once for a candy company and my son loves candy, and they filled us up with he thought I was the coolest thing in the world because they gave me candy. I'm like, well, the check was worth a lot more than the candy, but I get your point of view. Darrin, you've been talking about culture's everything here for a few minutes. One of the key things I think that you want to really remote or talk about is, how are you working with remote? So you have such a powerful culture. A lot of people think, well, we can't have a culture the way we want to when we have workers remote, workers hybrid. How are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies go, oh, all right, we're going to do remote culture. What's the first thing they do? They throw a virtual happy hour. And they, like in our industry, they put 10 engineers on a virtual happy hour. They just want to kill themselves. They're all drinking a beer going, why am I here? I don't want to be here. I'm not actually connected to the people on the other side, right? And so with our remote folks, if we're successful about creating those extraordinary opportunities, right? I talked about trying to be intentional about creating those. If we can create 1 or 2 of those a year, maybe 3 or 4, hopefully, right? We take the engineer who lives out in Ohio and the other guy in Denver, Colorado, and we all meet in Las Vegas for the AWS conference. And we spend a week in Vegas together, going to the conference, going out, probably drinking too much and losing money. And we're actually creating memories and funny stories, and we're having a blast. Now, when we do the virtual stuff, now it actually works, because a virtual happy hour where I'm actually connected and I care about the people on the other side of this call, well, now that's fun, right? Think of your 5 best friends. If you have a virtual happy hour, that will be enjoyable because you'll be laughing and joking and telling stories, and about their wife and their kids and the embarrassing thing from high school. It works then. But if you put 5 people on a call that don't know each other, it's broken. So we're going out of our way to make those connections with our remote folks so that then the virtual stuff then does work.
All this comes back to culture's everything. Is there a guiding principle, Darrin, that you guys have found that works for your leadership other than servant leadership?
Yeah, I mean, servant leadership is huge, right? And it's kind of about putting our people before ourselves, right? But what we found is as we lead that way, and then the rest of our leadership team, which our leadership team now is about 15 people, when they all lead like that, and then we recruit those type of folks, it kind of starts to snowball on its own, right? And everybody's going, well, no, you don't serve me, I serve you, and you don't serve me, I serve you. Even the people who are trying to get served, right? And so that's when a special team really starts to form, and when everyone's willing to sacrifice for each other, and somebody is on the receiving end of one of these really cool moments or these cool gift or something that we did in that way. Well, now they just want to pay it forward. And then the new rookie who just got hired or needs some mentorship, they'll spend a whole weekend with them working on something, volunteering their own time because they want to give back. They don't, not because they feel guilty. It's just, the thing is starting to snowball. And so I feel like if you lead in the right mentality and you attract the right people, that stuff can start to permeate the culture in a really positive way.
Now, hold on another moment. Darrin's just been talking about how hiring the right people, giving them the right leadership, it trickles down throughout the organization. Now, those are probably my words, not his, but I want you to think about that for a second, that when you are putting the power inside of your leadership team and you're supporting them, you're coaching them, you're giving them the skills that they need, it trickles down to everyone else. The good skills trickle down for sure, but also the bad skills. If you notice that someone's not quite present, or someone shows up late, or someone isn't accountable as they could be, or for whatever reason, you just feel like they're out of alignment with their word, then those things trickle down too. People see them and they feel like that's what leadership is. So just remember, in the trickle down aspect of leadership is that the good things flow down, but also the bad ones too. Back to Darrin. I want to give you one last question, Darrin. I'm sure you've made some mistakes in this journey. What's one thing that you could share with us that led to a breakthrough?
You know, Gene, I think in my early years, you get it. I'm a high energy guy, right? I've always been driven. I've been a psycho since I was in like 4th grade, like I don't know why, but, and so I was around a lot of those folks through my sports career, right? My brother and I played basketball in college and were able to get to a fairly high level. And so I'm used to being around other people that are very driven. And so then as I got out and into my business career and got into my first few leadership roles, I kind of led assuming that everybody was of that same like driven mindset. And that was a major failure, right? Because probably more people than not are not like that, right? And even here at Jahnel Group, not everybody is like so driven and a psycho. They might be a star performer, but they might be like, look, boss, I'm just here to do my 9 to 5. This is all great. And I get it that there's a lot of people here that are very motivated, but I just want to do good work and go home and raise my family or be with my wife or whatever it is, right? And so I think early on, Gene, I just didn't understand that everybody wasn't so driven. And so I think I learned some tough lessons. I got some negative feedback in my early days as a leader. And I started to realize like, okay, it's about them and not me. I might want this. I might want them to be driven and go faster, but they might not want that. They might not choose that path. I've got to meet everybody where they are. And that's something that probably took me 5, maybe 10 years to really fully understand.
Appreciate you sharing that with us. I think we've all made that mistake. It's the reason why that relationship book, The 5 Love Languages, was created, because we typically give to others in our love language. But if we understand what others want, we're able to serve them from that perspective. And that's the big lesson I learned through reading that book, decades ago. But I think it works in leadership as well. So thank you so much, Darrin, for sharing that with us. I appreciate you being here and sharing your journey. Culture is everything. I think a lot of people believe that, but they just don't know what to do. Love the stories of looking for opportunities to be extraordinary. And all of these examples are really, thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, Gene, thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you. And I'm a big fan of the podcast.
Wow, what a powerful interview. Could you hear his energy and passion for what he does and his people? I loved every part of that. He has details and sharing with you how he's recognizing people. Really brilliant, I think. And you can actually do that yourself. I will do this within my own team. It's so powerful. And I really appreciate you leaning into this work, staying this long into the program. If there's any question I could do for you or anything I could provide, make sure you reach out to me. I'd love to help you. just go to genehammett.com. You can schedule your call with me. We'll talk about your business, talk about what's going on, and can help you make a difference in your company. And when you think of leadership and you think of growth, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, live with courage. We'll see you next time.